Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay, and this is Life with Lindsay. Today, we have a WIP and chat. If you do not know what a WIP and chat is, that is when I work on my current WIP, WIP, which is work in progress, and you can pull out whatever it is that you are working on and work alongside with me. It could be another craft project. It could be a household project. It can be while you're doing chores, while you're driving around, while you're at work, while you're pretending to work, while you're escaping work. I don't know. Whatever it is that you want to do. There's no right way or wrong way to WIP and chat. So, I am working on Each Tree Has a Soul. I did not do an unboxing for this, but if you'd like to see last week's WIP and chat, I will link that one for you guys up in the eye. It was a bit of a chaotic week. I have my notes here. Per usual, I'm going to be working with a million different pens. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I am working with, this Muni-Made tray was gifted to me. However, this color is very, very hard to see in it. Speaking of this color, listen, Diamond Art Club, I love you. These two symbols, it's a V and a Y. They are both shades of pink. They are very hard to distinguish on here. Oh my god, I don't know which one this is. Now that I just did that. Crap. I'm gonna just try to sprinkle. That's my very scientific method. Pretty sure it was the Y. If you guys have never been here, yep, that was definitely the Y. If you've never been here, hi, welcome. My name's Lindsay. I do mainly diamond painting content, and I am very clearly a hot mess. Don't mind me over here trying to prove a point about something and then making it worse. So we're just going to put that right there for right now, so I don't make things even more difficult for myself. Anyway, if you're new, hi, welcome. I would love for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell, hop aboard the Hot Mess Express. Let's all be friends. If you've been here before, hi, welcome. I'm going to grab a couple colors out. I do have a little bit of a runny nose. Thank you to my tiny human. We will talk about that in a bit here. 28. Where are you at? 28, right here. All right. I think I'm actually going to start with that color. Although, is this going to be too dark in here too? We'll see. We'll see. But I hope that you guys are all doing well. Life has been so chaotic this week. And, I mean, I know a lot of times I give you guys, like, updates on my week. And I have people say to me all the time, like, oh, you guys are really busy. Yeah, we are really busy. I have a small child who does sports and other activities. And we still do school stuff over the summer. But while that's all happening, I am simultaneously preparing myself for the fact that my kid is actually starting preschool this fall. So, you know, I started some back to school shopping, if you will. Got her a backpack. What else? Where's my big pen? By the way, rest in peace, 10 placer. I snapped you in half last night. But in case anyone's curious, I have a whole container. Whole tainer of them, as Briar calls it. I might have to switch this drill tray here in a minute because it is quite dark. It's hard to see when it's the same color as like the drills or similar in color. So I'm just gonna put these. I also find it, and let me know if you guys are like this, if you are people who have 3D printed trays, these like translucent ones that are, you know, semi-see-through, I find them more difficult to see with than like a regular, like, opaque one like this. I know not everybody has the same preferences, but anyway, let me get back to the week. So, my sister and her son came into town. I have not seen them in 3 years. And it was a very short trip. It was a scheduled short trip. So I wanted to make sure that we maximized our time together. Last time they saw Briar, she was 1.5, which, if you don't have a tiny human that is around you all the time, there's a huge difference between a kid who's 1.5 and a kid who's 4.5. So, you know, we had to do that. So on last Sunday, we went down. My sister and my nephew stayed with my parents. in the Philadelphia suburbs, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from us. We always have to stop for like a potty break and things like that. So it always takes a little bit longer to get anywhere because of that. And that's fine. I'm used to it by now. But, you know, just traveling with a small child in a car for an extended period of time is always never goes as planned. You know what I mean? So we got to my parents' house. We hung out with my sister, hung out with my nephew a little bit. My daughter was like, okay, so people often giggle or scoff at when we say like our kid never stops. And when I say that, I actually mean like she legit never stops. From the minute those eyeballs open to the minute they close at night, she is go, 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 go. And right now, it seems like her most favorite thing in the whole wide world is to just hear the sound of her voice. So even if she's not talking to anyone about anything, she's still talking. And it doesn't stop, ever. Like, she's definitely awake. I turned her down a little bit, but she is definitely awake. It is past her bedtime. This bright till, like, 9:30 thing has been killing me in terms of, like, kid, go to sleep. Because she just does not comprehend. She does not compute that it is nighttime because it is still bright out. But, you know, when my husband and I go down to my parents' house, normally, if I'm trying to talk to my dad, for example, Brian has to wrangle the baby. Or if Brian is talking to my dad, I have to wrangle the baby. But it's nice that when my sister is around, that like I can have an actual adult conversation and know that there's like another set of eyeballs that are on her. And it might not seem like that big of a deal because like, oh, she's 4, what, you know, but boy, can my kid get into some mischief and some damage. And my parents' house is full of stuff that's not appropriate for small children and breakable and fragile and, you know, fancy. I just totally, oh my God, I am not doing well. And I don't know why. It's definitely not that, like, bright in here. My ring light is angled that way, which might be why I have weird shadows. But outside, the sun is setting really quickly. Like, when I sat down to get my notes started, it was that, like, I'm in your eyes kind of sun. And now it's, like, setting, so it's darker in here. Anyway, super tangent. So it was really nice to get to hang out with my sister and my nephew and all that. And it was funny. At one point, my mom's like, I have to go upstairs for a few minutes. And then she came downstairs like 2.5 hours later. And I was like, you all right? And she's like, yeah, I'm just a little worn out. And I'm like, you're worn out. I'm the one chasing her around. Brian's chasing her around. You know, granted, my parents are of a certain age. And I don't expect them to be chasing her around all day long. But at one point, Briar, I was like, Mom, can you keep an eyeball on her for me, please? Like, I just have to go to the bathroom. And, you know, it was like a little bit of like an exasperated. And I was like, Mom, I just have to pee. Like, I just want to make sure that in the, you know, minute that I'm in the bathroom that she doesn't knock something over. I don't know where Brian was at that moment. He was doing something else. And at one point she was like, Mimi, come play with me. And my mom legit just looked at her and she goes, I don't want to play right now. And I'm like, yee. Let's see how well that goes over. But it was fun. It was nice. I've got 4 siblings. There's 4 of us in total. So I have 3 siblings. And my sister's the oldest, and then me. And then I've got a younger brother, and then, or 2 younger brothers. My one brother, I haven't seen in a while because he lives cross country. The other brother, I haven't seen in a while just because he doesn't like to, like, leave his bubble. So I was really shocked to find out, and he lives near my parents, that the youngest brother was actually going to be joining us for dinner. My sister is not back to, like, life as normal, post-pandemic. And And she also just got over having COVID. So, like, I understand that she, especially while traveling, wants to be safe. And, you know, I am totally okay with accommodating a larger group of people. I just, like, my dad said something about eating outside at a restaurant. I was like, that's totally cool. Is it enclosed? Or is it, like, direct access to the parking lot? These are things that if you have an older kid, you might not have to worry about that. But mine, if she gets up out of her seat and runs and goes right into the parking lot, like, that's dangerous, you know? Not that it wouldn't be dangerous if a 10-year-old did it or a 15-year-old did it or a 20-year-old did it. But, like, mine doesn't understand. She seems to lack the impulse control is what I think is going on here. So, I was assured this was a lovely place, and it was beautiful. It was fancy sushi. It was just stunning. I didn't take any pictures of the food, and I should have. But I thoroughly enjoyed my meal. Briar got her California roll, as she calls it. And it was nice to see my brother. We were just all having a really lovely time. So it was a large party. It was my parents, my brother, my sister, my nephew, myself, my husband, and my daughter. And we had a really lovely time. And as we're sitting there at dinner, I got an email from my daughter's head teacher that said, just letting you know, I tested positive for COVID. So please monitor yourself and your family. So obviously my first thought was, well, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, now, listen, you guys can, if you've been here before, you've heard me say this, like, this is not an up for debate thing for me. I had COVID and it was horrific for me. I know it doesn't affect everybody the same way, and that's totally okay, but it is very much a real thing, and I definitely got a hair stuck in my canvas. Damn it. Is that gone? Can you guys tell from there? I guess I'll find out in a few minutes. My daughter still wears a mask when she does any school activities, so, even though she was in direct contact with the teacher just a few days earlier, she had on a mask, the teacher had on a mask. So, you know, that was like my one fingers crossed saving grace. But my daughter has had a runny nose for a couple days at this point, and she had no fever, no issues, no nothing. And so I said something to my mom. I was like, you know, I don't want to bring her around if it's going to make everyone uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, after I told my brother, and my sister and my parents and everybody this, because I thought it was important that if Briar was a direct exposure, that now they know there's a chance that we've all been exposed. And my brother immediately was like, nope, I'm done. Like, he just got very shut down. He didn't want to be near me, and, like, I understand, but also I was like, dude, at this point, like, if she had it and she passed it along, there's really not much I can do at this point. You know what I mean? So, it was really unfortunate, and it obviously put a bit of a damper onto our evening, but I didn't know. I had to let my family know. You know what I mean? And my husband and I had been around Briar for a couple days at that point since she had been exposed. We obviously didn't know. And neither one of us had any sort of symptoms of anything. So I was like, you know, what are the likelihoods that my kid actually does have it? You know? So after that was all said and done, we went back to the hotel. My sister was actually going to come over to the hotel before dinner. But her son actually fell asleep because he was struggling with the time difference. And he's a teenager. So he's somewhere that's a couple hours earlier than back home. And so all of his friends, his buddies, were already asleep anyway because of it being summer. And then you add a 3-hour time difference and, like, none of them were awake. Oh, I think I have to sneeze. Hold on. And, oh, excuse me. I was like, that's fine, don't worry about it. But it was really cool. Our hotel, and for anyone who's curious why we stayed in a hotel, while the commute isn't that bad, the limited amount of time that we had and the price of gases and tolls, it didn't seem worth it for us to go back and forth like multiple days in a row. And the plan was Sunday into Monday, we stayed in a hotel, and then Monday evening, we were going to go home, and then Tuesday, after ice skating, as long as my parents didn't have, like, distinct plans with my sister and my nephew, we were going to head back down. So we were hanging out at our hotel, just, wasting a little bit of time. They had this, like, bar, restaurant, like, I don't want to call it a rooftop because it wasn't a roof, but it was like a rooftop kind of feel. It had an outdoor section. There was cornhole. There was a giant water table for kids. There was a couple activities. Although as we were leaving to go get ready for our dinner with our family, they started taking away a lot of the games. So I don't know if it's not like a family-friendly place all day. I don't know. I've never been there before, but it was cool. We had a lot of fun, and the hotel itself was beautiful. It was brand new. It was impossible to find the front door. Have you ever been to a hotel and, like, literally gotten out of your car and, like, pulled on every door and none of them were the right door? Because that's what happened. And then the woman at the front desk, like, chuckled when I was like, you guys don't have this marked at all. And she's like, yeah, our own little paradise here. Like, okay. But how do your guests know where to check in? Because I legit pulled, like, 3 different doors before I walked around the front, and I was like, well, there's a door. Let's try that one. It just happened to be the right one. But yeah, anyway, we had a really, really lovely time, and stayed over, and it was funny. Somebody messaged me and was like, are you going to have a video tomorrow? And I was like, well, God willing. I had my video for last week already recorded when we went down, and I just had to edit it and process it. But I was at the mercy of, the hotel Wi-Fi. So I was like, please work, please work. So when we went to bed, Brian was like, you can lay down with her if you want. I was like, I have to finish editing this. Like, I was just like, so it did. I was very thankful. And then when I came into the room, I think it was like 10 something. It wasn't even super late. Brian was asleep. Briar was asleep. I was like, all right, let's go to bed. And Briar always has intentions of letting mommy and daddy sleep together, and then she never lets us do it. She always ends up with one of us in the bed. And this was no exception. And it was cute because our last trip that we took to Jersey for like one day, she slept with me after telling me I could sleep with Brian. But alas, it did not happen, but it was cute. But when we woke up in the morning, Brian's like, oh my God, it's 8:58. And I was like, is it really? I couldn't believe that we all slept in. And then I was like, oh no, we missed breakfast. Are you guys fans of hotel breakfast? Because, like, I love me a good continental breakfast. And I will pick one hotel over another if they have, like, breakfast available versus the one that doesn't. Depending on where I'm traveling, my 2 things that I look for are parking and breakfast. And the parking is only because some places will charge you, and, I want to know that before I go in. But anyway, so I was like, uh-oh. And then I get, just a little pit in my stomach of like, okay, we need to go get Briar tested because, she had a direct exposure. And obviously I don't want to be around my family without knowing an answer. So we had gone swimming in the pool, stayed away from everybody. We were all by ourselves. And then because we didn't have breakfast, I booked an appointment for Briar at one of those, like, drive up. I think it's 15 to know, and it's literally because it takes 15 minutes. And we booked the appointment, and we head right up. And I get there, and I said to the guy, is it all right if she's in the car seat? And he goes, oh, I don't care. I'm not the one doing the swab. And I was like, what? And he goes, oh, we don't do children. And I was like, what? So you're telling me that I booked this appointment, drove all the way here, and I'm the one administering this? I was like, oh, man. So I was none too thrilled, because I was like, I could have saved myself a lot of time and money if I had just gone to, you know, CVS and picked up a rapid test to do. So that sucks. I think next time if we travel anywhere, I'm going to just throw one into our suitcase so we don't have to deal with this. But we tested her. She was not happy about it, and it came back negative. So it was just normal, you know, yucky, summer cold, kids are gross kind of stuff. Okay. So I called my brother. I let him know, because I know he was super paranoid, and I let my parents know, and I let my sister know, and everybody was like, great, good to know. Thanks for letting us know. That, you know, that's the right thing to do. So we are now at the mall, and we were at the mall because they did the 15 to know in the parking lot of the one mall. So I was like, well, you know, like, do we want to go in and have some lunch and, you know, waste some time and blah, 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 blah. I don't know why I keep picking up a different, that pen. So we went into the entrance and had some lunch, and then, you know, like, meanwhile, I'm texting with my sister because there's no real set plans, and we want to spend time with them, but we didn't know, like, I didn't want to go spend time sitting at my mom and dad's house doing absolutely nothing to then just drive back to where we were. So, my husband just walked in, so if you guys hear any noise in the background, say hi, husband.
Hello.
Yeah, I will turn the fan up after, so that it's not super, super loud. But, so Brian and I, we took Briar and got some lunch at the mall, and meanwhile, you know, my family, my sister and my nephew they need more time because they're functioning on a different time zone, and, you know, it's early in the morning, and so all of this stuff. So we took Briar. There's a carousel inside the mall. We walked around the mall for a while. There was a play area in the mall, which she absolutely loved. Quick hydration break. Everybody, take a sip. And then they had this trampoline thing. And it is like a trampoline with a harness, and they hook you into the harness and they adjust the tension so that you can still jump and, like, do flips and all that stuff, but they make it so that you're not, like, needing to propel yourself really hard to get up, if that makes sense. This kid loved it. That was the best $13 I think I've ever spent. She was in heaven. And the guy who was running it, like, he clearly knew what he was doing. But we had a really great time, and, you know, then my sister said, okay, let's all meet up. And so, you know, I asked her if mom and dad would drop her off or if I had to pick her up. So I had to pick her up. Not a big deal. But if you've ever driven in a car with a car seat, you know, there's not the most room. I'm not a small person. Thankfully, my nephew is old enough, because he's over 6 feet tall. He's old enough to sit in the front, so he sat in the front and I sat in the back with my sister and the baby. And then we went to a different mall, and we went shopping in a couple places. There were a couple, like, everybody broke up at one point and split up, and, like, Brian and Briar had their own little time, and Briar was, to say my child was overstimulated that day, she was wound up, you know, like when you wind up one of those electric tops and you get to the point where it starts like crick, 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 like making that like crunching sound, and then you let it go and it's like, that's what Briar was like that day. She was,
I was thinking like the monkey with the cymbals and you wind them up there.
It just,
first.
Oh my God. And then it was just like the hard, like fighting us because she was so tired, but you know, she's too cool for school to sleep. And we ended up going to dinner with my sister and my nephew, which turned into they didn't have the patio open, but nobody wanted to go find another restaurant. So then they opened the patio, and they gave us a waitress who was pretty timid, and like we were pretty straightforward in terms of like our orders and stuff like that, but they had eventually put other people out there with us, and like I could see the one guy was just giving the waitress like a really hard time about his drink. I couldn't hear, but I could see what was happening, and I could see her whole demeanor change, and it was super shitty. But anyway, we did all that, and then unfortunately I had asked my parents if they could come pick my sister up, because I was literally 2 minutes away from the turnpike entrance, which would have saved us like 45 minutes on our drive. And unfortunately, my parents decided, you know, we don't want to come out. Thanks for bringing her home. And I was like, okay. You know, my mom did recognize in the conversation, which I really appreciate, that I know this would be easier for Lindsay, but, and I was like, well, you know, I'll take it. I'll take that phrase. And so we took everybody home, and then we came home. Fast forward to the next day, Briar had ice skating in the morning, and my sister texts me and tells me that my nephew's been sick all night long. He's really not feeling well. He definitely has a fever and a sore throat and like all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, like I hope he's okay. Cause like nothing's worse than being sick when you travel, but they also were here for 4 days. Did I grab the wrong? I think I did. There we go. So they ended up doing a COVID test on him, and it did come back negative. He has since taken like 2 or 3, and he's still negative. So, you know, unfortunately, I don't think that it was because of my daughter's runny nose. Could it have been? Sure. But like, I don't think that an exposure would have gotten him sick that quickly. But, you know, it's neither here nor there. But he was not feeling well. Last I texted my sister, he still wasn't feeling well, but he was doing better. So that's great. But we went skating, and I noticed we've got a bunch of hockey kids in our summer program this year, and a lot of them don't have hockey camp or don't have like the season's kind of on hold. Rink ice time is really hard to come by, and I think that's part of the reason that they don't have a lot of like summer leagues for kids that run the whole time. But anyway, Briar at one point was just like laying on the ice and kind of had given up. And it's very frustrating to watch, like, as a parent, because like I know my kid is good at what she does, but she doesn't think she's good at what she does. And especially when there are kids that are, you know, 7 years old who've been skating for 3 years, they go much faster than her, who's only been doing this for a year and is 4 years old. And, you know, I said, you're going to get there, kiddo. You just got to put in the effort. And when these kids are better than her, she just kind of stops trying. So I had said something to her teacher before that I think that maybe trying like a private lesson might be beneficial, because I think her doing it one-on-one might give her less of an opportunity to not put in the effort, if that makes sense. Like there's nowhere to hide when it's just you and the coach. And so we were on, it's actually called the Puddle. It's a really tiny rink. It's like a quarter of the size of a regulation rink. And we've been on it before, but we were on it, and there's no penalty box. My daughter's been put in the penalty box, like, I don't even know how many times. And she's like, I want you and Brian, like, out of her sight. She cannot see you guys because she's, you know, and I'm like, okay. So we just went to the bleachers, to the rink right, the actual skating rink right next to it. It's still the same room. Like, we could still see the little kid pond. She just couldn't see us from where we were. And I don't really know how well, maybe we couldn't see her that well. Anyway, she wasn't really, never mind. I don't know how well she did or didn't do at that point, because, you know, we were just off to the side. But when she got off the ice, oh my God, you guys, this kid was like, you abandoned me and you were never going to come back for me. And I was so scared I would never see you again. And I was like, we have never in our lives abandoned you. We have never once left you in a position where you're not safe. And like the one time in your life we've left you with your aunt and uncle, you had the best time of your life. So, and I was like, what is going on? So, it just was like, it was crazy. Like, she, like, weeping. Where did that go? I'm gonna just keep this color. Sorry I keep sniffling, you guys. It seems like every time my kid gets anything, it somehow goes immediately to me. And then every couple times it also goes to my husband, but it usually hits me hard and fast. And then, like, it comes to him later. If it comes to him at all. Which I'm like, all right, you know, I'm super not prepared for preschool because I know, like, I love my kid, don't get me wrong, but kids are gross, man. Like, everything still gets put in the mouth, and, like, they touch things, and then they touch other things, and then the hands go in their mouth, and they wipe the boogers, and it's like, ugh, gross. So, my immune system is not ready for my daughter to go to preschool, but it is what it is. I'm going to have to deal with it because such is life. Anyway, so we obviously did not see my sister after ice skating because my nephew wasn't feeling well. And it was pretty unfortunate because that was my last opportunity to see my sister. I don't know if I said it earlier, but that was the first time I had seen my sister in 3 years. We video chat, we do things like that, but, you know, it's not the same. I also have not seen my other brother in about the same amount. He will be coming in later this summer for a trade show, and we'll get to see him for, you know, a little bit of time. But it was a bummer that that's how the trip had to end. And I know it was a bummer for them because, like, they didn't want to spend the last day of their trip in my parents' house sick. And then my brother texted me and also let me know he was very certain that, you know, I have flu-like symptoms, I have a terrible sore throat, I have this, I have that, I'm going to test myself. Like, I think he was positive he was going to test positive. I later found out he did not test positive, but I was like, man, this sucks. Like, if you are one of the very lucky few that have managed to go unscathed, you know, thankfully it seems like this round that's going around right now at this current time is not as life-threatening, but it is so contagious. And I think especially with summertime, or at least summertime here, like, I know my friends in Australia are opposite seasons, but I think a lot of people are ready to resume natural or regular life, and, you know, less precautions are being taken, and they want to enjoy the time, and people are traveling more and going out and about, and, you know, so just take care of yourselves out there, everybody. But we did that, and then we went to lunch after ice skating. We usually do. And we went to a place, we like it, and I've come to learn that, like, you can't judge it based on the parking lot, because if you look at the parking lot, it does not matter how many people are in the restaurant, it is always full for some reason. Like, the one day Brian and I pulled up, and I was like, do you want me to see if there's any tables before I take the baby out of the car? And I literally, like, walked up, and there was, like, 2 tables full of people. But I was like, there's, like, 75 cars in the parking lot. Who are all these cars belonging to? And I know it's not the staff, because I've seen the staff. They have to park across the street, like, up an alley. But anyway, we live in an area that is highly populated with Mennonites. If you guys know what Mennonites are, there's a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch. So they walked in, and there had to be at least 12, if not 15 in their party. And to watch, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they're Mennonites. It was just a fact I remember, because they all walked in with their bonnets and they're modestly dressed, and they were shocked that at the height of lunch rush, that they did not have a table for 15 people. or 12 people, or however many it was. I'm thinking there's not even a table in here that's big enough for that.
Very closely packed to begin with.
Yes, it's one of those restaurants that, like, if you don't like being near other people, don't go eat there. But their food is good. I mean, they've definitely jacked their prices up with the costs, I know, of everything right now. But, you know, usually I find that it's still worth it for what I'm getting. But yeah, we had a good meal. We had a good time. And then we went home and I was like, well, I guess this is it. You know, like there's no more visiting my family. That's over. But we, yeah, let me grab some more water. So Wednesday was like a rest day for us. I was like, we just need a break. You know, not that we were doing so much, but traveling in any capacity, my hair keeps getting stuck on something and it's pulling and it's driving me crazy. Not that you guys needed to know that, but it wore me out. I was tired. My body needed a break. And so, you know, like Disney's going to be super fun. Thank God we have like one whole day off to just go to the pool, to just stay at the resort, to just do nothing. But Wednesday was that for us, and Briar has been talking about Rapunzel a lot recently. Rapunzel was one of the princesses we met at the tea party that we went to, which one of the other fathers at ice skating was like, is Briar into princesses? And I was like, she is. And he told me about another one of these princess, and I'm like, ooh, after I said I would never do it again. But the price on this is like literally like $30 instead of like $60-something. It's much more affordable.
I told you I was expecting to be like, no, like have like PTSD.
Yeah, in my head I did. And then in my brain was like, but you love your daughter and you do anything for her to make her happy. So we'll see. I have not quite decided. But if the tickets are more affordable, I think that maybe this would be like a mommy and daddy one. Because the last one, like, the tickets were so expensive. And then I got food poisoning, which, like, I wasn't super thrilled by. But I think this is an indoor facility. So, we'll see. I have no idea. Anyway, Wednesday, I also found out that one of our small shops for the small shop fundraiser for Coping with LM raised $21, which is fantastic. I was super appreciative. Shout out to Legends X Phenom. I will link her shop down below. 2 of her kiddos actually have Airway Malaysia as well, so for her it was, yeah, it definitely hit close to home. And thankfully for her kids didn't need any kind of surgical intervention like mine. Mine didn't as well. I mean, not like mine. And if you guys have not seen it and you'd like to see it, I will link B's story. It is up. It is just like our journey as parents, and what my daughter has gone through in terms of like her medical stuff. I know that is not a this is for everyone kind of video, so I am very aware of that. But yeah, it was fun. Briar enjoyed Rapunzel, and then the next day was Thursday. We had swimming, which this is our last swimming lesson for a couple weeks because we have camp this coming week, so she will miss. And then the following week, the swim coach, her kids have camp or something, and so she had us cancel that lesson. But Briar did really good. She wanted to put her face under the water again. And we're getting there. You know, she really wants to, like, swim. When we went to the pool in the hotel, there were some bigger kids, and they were like, she let her come play with us. And Brian's like, she doesn't know how to swim yet. And Briar's like, yes, I do. You know, no, you don't. You don't even know how to doggy paddle on your own yet. You just know how to, like, wall crawl. You know, like, I mean, I'm proud of her. She's really putting in the effort with swimming most of the time. And then sometimes she'll be like, I don't want to. And the swim teacher is really good. I like the way she teaches. I like the pace at which she teaches. I like it all. And then, you ever get something canceled on Amazon and it's like a gut punch? because I have been after this craft mat. Huge shout out to Marlene, who checked to see if she could get it in Canada for me and then ship it to me. And I was like, girl, you do not need to spend international shipping prices to get me this craft mat. Which, you know, it's one of those, like, super trendy, hot things, and when it sells, like, when they restock it, it sells out super, super quick, and then they take the listing off of Amazon. So it's not like I can even just keep going back unless you have it in your cart or, you know, and so they canceled it as undeliverable because the box was damaged, and I was like, oh, as long as the product's not damaged, I don't care, like, I want it. And I've been trying to get this thing for a while, so I was sad about that, you guys. It's really cool, though. It has, like, she can put her paint right on it, or she can use it, do Play-Doh on it. It has a cup built in so she can, you know, with her paintbrushes, and she really likes to be crafty. We just don't really have a great space for her to be crafty. Like, I don't trust her to do it at our dining room table, because then she's, like, knocking everything off the table, and you know, the high chair only has so much surface space. So I thought this would be nice, but womp womp. And then we grabbed some Mexican for lunch. And we specifically went and got Mexican because Brian was like, well, she wants a burger. They have burgers there. Let's go there. And I was like, okay. Because every time she says she wants a burger, she's like, let's go to Five Guys. And, like, while I don't dislike Five Guys, I just notice, before the pandemic they were expensive, but let's just state that, but it does not settle well with my stomach, and there's not a lot of options for somebody who doesn't eat burgers at a burger joint, and that's totally okay. But when, like, the one thing I do love from there always makes me sick, which is their hot dogs, which is very weird because hot dogs in general don't make me sick. I don't know. It's very weird. But, we did that, and we finally got the okay. We've been approved. Here's your date for my daughter's evaluation. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I've been on, like, mental health resource waiting lists for months and months. It was either February or March. I can't even remember at this point. That I started to put us on some lists. My daughter was evaluated 2 years ago, actually, at a place called Center for Autism and Developmental Delays. Not that we have ever suspected our daughter to be on the spectrum, and, like, if she is, like, that's, you know, it's not gonna change how I do anything, or how I look at her, or how I, you know, but I know there's a lot going on with her right now, and especially, like, behavior-wise, we're really struggling. A lot of things that, in my mind, I've been looking at as her being unsafe, for example. Like, I don't know if I was talking about this in a WIP and chat, or if I was just talking about this on, like, my personal Facebook account or what, but my daughter has a tendency, like, if you put her down in a parking lot, like, to get out of the car, her first instinct is to, like, want to bolt, and it's like, nope, and we do have a harness and things like that we use for certain, like, when we go to Disney, 100% my kid's gonna have a stroller, but she's also gonna have a harness with her, because I don't want her to see something shiny and run off, you know what I mean? Like, it's for her safety. But what I was worried about is, like, her lack of safety awareness, I'm now realizing, is complete lack of impulse control. And a lot of her behaviors lately are boiling down to her inability, like, zero impulse control. Like, if you ask Briar a question, it does not matter what it is. No, it does not matter. Literally, the second you finish the question, she's answered you. And then goes, no, I don't mean, like I could say to her, Briar, is your milk still out? No. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. And just goes back and forth. And I'm like, oh my God, kid, just yes, it is, or no, it's not. And then she gets overwhelmed. And we've tried to practice with her, like, if you need a minute before you answer, then say that. Say, like, I need a second, or let me think. And then think about your answer, and then answer. And so you know, like my kid just, like when I tell you guys, like she doesn't listen, like she does not listen. I understand that every kid at 4 years old is not great at listening, but like she does not listen. And it's very frustrating, and there's not a lot we can do because like no matter how we approach it, it just seems to always like backfire in some way. So, and this place is out of state, which I'm not thrilled about, but it is what it is. So we had her die at the CAD 2 years ago per her teacher's request. If you guys are unfamiliar with the early intervention system, it is a county-based, school district-based provider system for services if your child qualifies. They offer speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, special education, hearing and vision services, but you have to have that attached to something else, which is totally a different story. And we also had play therapy through ours when she was in the birth to 3. So the day they turn 3 years old, they age out of early intervention, and if they qualify for it, it's not automatic because your kid's in the birth to 3 program. Then they would go to the IU, the intermediate unit, which then shifts your learning from a more home-based program to an education-based program. These are all programs to get your child up to speed with their peers for when they are in the classroom. That is the goal of these things. So for us, for example, like we have occupational therapy, but because it's school-based and not, private-based, their main concern is not sensory. If I need more sensory integration, I have to get a private OT. Thankfully, our OT does incorporate some sensory things into, but it's more like fine motor skills. So, there was a point to all this. Okay, so when we were in early intervention, before we aged out, they had highly recommended to us to have our daughter evaluated, see what the evaluators come up with, and go from there. Because if there was more of a reason, like medically based, then my daughter could qualify for services, let alone more services. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that evaluation came back as your kid has a speech delay, which we already knew, and we had been in speech services since she was like 15 months old. Excuse me. And anxiety, which again we already knew, but nothing else. And so that evaluation didn't actually help us secure any services. We were very lucky that we were able to be like, I know her paperwork says there's nothing going on, but she still requires these services. And they were like, okay, we agree, and we were able to keep them. And in the beginning, when she started with the IU, it was all virtual. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, putting her in front of a tablet and having to do, like, school lessons with a kid who just turned 3. It was hard. It was miserable. So when they told me that our intake evaluation was completely virtual, I was like, what? Are you serious? And then they sent me a breakdown of the finances, and I'm like, why is this so expensive for being, like, literally over Zoom? And then they're like, and you'll be charged separately for the facility fee. And I'm like, facility fee? I'm literally doing it in my kitchen. I'm not coming to your mental health clinic or wherever this is. And I'm just like, damn. And they were like, well, if it's really an issue, we can try to do a follow-up, like, in person. A follow-up? This is what happened to us when we did CAD, by the way. We had our full evaluation. It was a 3-part evaluation. They watched her have a 40-minute meltdown during one session. I don't even know what it was. I don't know what it was for. I don't know what set it off. But I was like, are you seeing this? Like, and then they said to us at the end of the 3 sessions, we don't have enough information to go off of. We'd like your daughter to come in person. And I was like, oh, finally. Of course, we go in person. This child is like perfect angel. She does everything that's asked of them. She like gives the best eye contact, and she's explaining things, and she's and I'm like, who the hell is this child?
The moment we get outside.
And, well, so funny that I'm mentioning this story. So the moment we get outside, literally the second those glass doors open and her feet hit the concrete, she just flips out. And it's like the worst of the worst of the worst is happening right in front of me. And I was like, please tell me they have cameras and they can see this. I was so incredibly overwhelmed and devastated. And oddly enough, as we were leaving, a friend of mine, who is a friend of mine now, I didn't know her then, was going in for an evaluation with her son. And we actually connected through the small shop world, and her and I spent hours together on Saturday, which I'm hoping I have enough time to tell you guys that story. But so anyway, we are going to have the evaluation. It is not this coming week, next week. I'm a lot nervous for it. So we'll see how that goes. You know, I've had people, not so much like YouTube people, but I've had people say to me, like, why are you pushing so hard to get your daughter labeled or diagnosed? And I'm like, I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm pushing hard for my kid to not fall through the cracks, to get everything that my child deserves. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of these things, like, they can watch a kid struggle, but if there's no reason for it, they can't do anything about it except for just wait until they, like, hit rock bottom. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with watching my child struggle to exist and to make it through day to day, because I've said this before, her struggles are enough that they interfere with her day to day, but not enough that anyone outside of her bubble is concerned about it. But I watch it. And I see it, and I see a lot of myself in it, because I was diagnosed at 4, and I see a lot of the struggles that I had that my kid's going through, and I don't want her to walk in my shoes and not get help for it.
You want her to be on even playing ground with everyone else.
Yeah, and it's just really unfortunate, but... So, obviously, I will keep you guys posted with how that goes. My thoughts and feelings are going to be that it's going to be a very long, very expensive appointment. And then they're going to go, well, you know, maybe we should see her in person. And then be like, that's what I suggested. So, and then we went and got ice cream for dessert, because why not? The next day, we had a private lesson with Briar's skating coach. I have suspected for a while that if Briar has, like, that one-on-one attention, there's nowhere to hide. She's gonna focus more, and she did really well. And I think that her coach was actually quite surprised, because she was like, you know, we can try it, but I don't know if it'll really make a difference for Briar. And then I was like, do you think this is something, like, worth adding in? She was like, yes. I mean, obviously, she's gonna get paid from it, so, but... We're not talking about, like, we're not trying to get our kid to train to be, you know, an Olympic skater. I don't want her to feel bad about herself, because bigger kids in her class are willing to put in the effort, and they are faster than her or better than her or whatever. And, like, as they should be, you know? I'm not saying that any kid who does the same thing would be better than her simply because of their age. But when you have kids that have been doing this for 3 years... you expect them to be at a higher skill level than a child who's been doing it for 1. Just pretty simple. So we're going to talk to her and see what she thinks about adding in some more stuff. And then we had some lunch. Saturday. How am I on time? Okay, so Saturday, my friend that I was just talking about. Hey, Allie, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're not. So, Allie, who is, like, my best mom friend, and we live about an hour and 10 from each other, so our friendship is mostly, you know, Facebook Messenger, texts, videos, things like that. We don't get to spend a lot of time in person, but her son and my daughter are the same age, and she had actually posted in one of the small shop groups, I think it was the same day as our evaluation.
By the time we got home, you saw it.
had on a dinosaur hoodie from a company called Wolf and Scamp, and I had a very distinguished backpack from a company that is no longer open, and she posted, you know, hey, I saw you today. I hope you're in this group. You know, if you are, let's be friends. And I was like, that's me. That's me. I want to be your friend. I think I have a whip and chat about this. If I can find it, I'll post it up there. But don't quote me on that because
excitement you had when you read.
Because I was like, oh my god, that's me. That's me.
Like the odds of it not being you. Or
yeah. And we connected, and like we actually, there's so many similarities between the two of us, and we get along so well. But she is the primary caretaker to her son and her daughter, and her daughter's 1, her son is 4, and we both deal with things in the special needs and the medical world that are very different from each other, but we understand each other's struggles, and we had just decided to have like an adult-only brunch. Which, trying to find a place for the two of us to go that was somewhat in between the two of us, that had brunch, that opened before noon, that also had cocktails. It was like, oh my god, we finally found somewhere. And guys, we ended up staying for 4 hours. Her and I just chatting. And, you know, thankfully, her husband was able to keep an eye on the kids, and my husband was able to have that one-on-one time with Briar. You know, I'm lucky Brian works from home, so very rarely would something not work with his schedule. You know, he can adjust, but her husband works overnight, so takes a little bit more, planning. Sorry, my drills just popped off. But it was so much fun, but I could not find the place, and I literally, she like texted me, and I was like, dude, I'm like crying on the side of some road, because I cannot for the life of me figure out where I'm going. I found it, and had some really delicious food, and it was a day, I'm not going to forget that. It was well needed. If you have somebody in your life who has additional needs, you know, medical needs, special needs, whatever it is, it's a very isolating world. When those around you don't understand, it's really hard. And then when those around you, like one of my favorite things is I had somebody try to tell me that they knew more about parenting simply because they had more children than I did. And I just looked them dead in the eyes and I go, yeah, how many of your kids have feeding difficulties? And she was like, none. I go, then don't give me advice on this. You gave your kid the bottle or the boob and they drank from it. Mine doesn't. Mine's choking. You know, like it's not... You're not a better parent because you have more kids. You might have more tips and tricks on certain things, but you're not more experienced.
Quantity doesn't mean quality.
Absolutely. And like Allie and I, like we understand each other's struggles, you know, to the best of our capacity. And she's never judged me for how I parent or how my child behaves and vice versa. And I'm very, very lucky to have her. And I'm very... very grateful that I had that day with her, and
I didn't bother you once.
She's trying to help me get some stuff together with like behavioral services. Of course, I'm like super overwhelmed because I'm like, this is not what like the people around me are telling me, so I got to figure out stuff. But okay, so I'm almost at an hour. I can do this. So today, I'm gonna just be quick on today. Today, I have decided we are now under the 100-day mark for Halloween. I do not care that it is July. I'm ready for Halloween. I am ready for fall. I'm ready for pumpkin season. I'm ready for all of it. And I said something to Brian. I was like, I want to start looking for decor. Now, I have always been and will always be a Halloween girl. I love costumes. I love candy. I love everything. I love Halloween. I love it. The longer we have a child, the more into it my husband is getting, which is great because, you know, he married me. And while I don't think that my husband has any desire to be like, oh, it's July, let's put Halloween decorations up. he understands that I do, and that my daughter is now old enough to have a say that she also thinks it's a great idea. So we went to Home Goods today. We picked up some really cute decor. If I can throw it in, I have a clip of pillows I can put in right here. But we also picked up like this little metal ghost. I got to get some more pictures. Probably post them on Instagram. But you guys, I was in heaven. I was so excited. And the little, what?
They had a lot.
I was impressed.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, well, they're going to have more stuff the closer they get to Halloween. I was like, you don't understand how Halloween hunting works, Mom. Like, literally the second this stuff goes out, people buy it. And they don't restock some of this stuff because it's seasonal. But we were definitely not the only ones looking for Halloween stuff. There was quite a few families out there with their shopping carts trying to get it all. But I am very, very excited. The little ghost, he's almost like a bobblehead, but he's not. He is so freaking cute. I cannot begin to tell you guys how happy this little ghost makes me. And I think just seeing the excitement on me and Briar made Brian happy, because we were both really excited about it. And, you know, so, but I think that's a really good place for me to end here. I have crossed the hour mark. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have made it all the way to the end, leave me a little Halloween or fall-themed emoji. I am super excited for Halloween. I think it's like 98 days or 99 days from the day that I'm recording this. But I'm hoping to finish this soon. I have the Simona mystery kit. I'm so excited. So part of me is like, I want to put this aside, do the mystery kit, and then come back to this for Love Still Wins, the No Start event I am co-hosting with Knox in August. But we shall see. I still have a week till the month is over, so we'll figure it out. But that's it. That's all I've got for you guys for this one. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, I would love if you would give this video 2 thumbs up. 1 real life, 1 virtual. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Come. Join the Sparkle Squad. And while you're there, hit that notification bell.
Dang.
I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time. And I record when my tiny human is sleeping or sleeping. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I'll see you on my next one. Bye, guys.